So let's talk about A Man in the Bath, or Man in the Bath, there's no "the" on it. This was the first book I ever wrote back in the 1990s, although I didn't get it published until 2022, I think it was, when it came out. It was a experiment to some extent. I was a big fan of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, a big fan of a lot of dystopian novels and films, Clockwork Orange, 1984, Iron Heel, and I decided to plan the idea of a protagonist who would share his philosophies with the world and would then lose control of them. No spoilers towards the end of the book, but it does not turn out well for Jack. And I wasn't quite sure how to begin. What I had realised was that I myself, as I'm sure many of you do, can lie back in a bath and find your mind, or find my mind, wandering on many occasions. There's just one scene within the book, the wondering who the fifth Beatle was, which is actually something that I did think about in the bath and jotted down afterwards and wrote down. So here's the surprising bit. I videoed myself in the bath as the main character, as Jack, to try out and see what it would look like for the audience in my book who were picturing him or seeing him on a screen, although I didn't have the technical ability to pixelate out my face in the way that he does, which was unfortunate, which is also why nothing has ever come of this footage until this very day. So I filmed a number of those different things to see what it was like and watched them back and tried putting little titles across the top of the screen. I suppose I could show you one, I suppose. Let the thing speak for itself.
Hi, I'm the man in the bath. This is where I come up with my ideas that I write down and that you can read in. They occur to you in moments like this, lying, soaking in the tub, letting the world go by, ideas coming past you, coming into your head. And then I get out and I scribble them all down. But if I record them like this, then you've got them real time.
But this was probably the late 1990s when I wrote this, well before the time of YouTube, social media, social influencers, and the height of technology at the time on computers tended to be bulletin boards, instant messaging, things that have long since gone and been replaced by phones to some extent. But there was no tradition for this sort of thing on the internet, so I thought it would be a really good idea to imagine what might happen in the future where people could watch all the time on their screens and see live video over the internet, and a time when it would be easy for anyone, any old idiot such as me, to create their own video channel, which is what the main character David Dunn does in the book. So I was kind of ahead of myself in many ways, and it's quite scary that I think it has come to pass, that it is perhaps too easy for strange and offensive opinions to be spread across the internet. But that's what happens with Jack. The little monologues that David gives during the course of the book are totally invented for the purposes of the novel and are deliberately offensive because they need to be. He's not, a bit like some of my other characters, he's not a particularly nice person, isn't David Dunn. Some of the creations that he has around philosophy are deliberately offensive on his part when he's trying to knock down the edifice that he's built around the persona of Man in the Bath. But some of the early ones, I imagine, are his real thoughts. And it was quite difficult to come up with those and to separate them, I think, from my own opinions in some cases. The one about the achievement of enlightenment came after reading a number of different Zen Buddhist books and things, and I suppose broadly reflects my own understanding or thoughts on that philosophy. But none of the others in the book, with the exception of the Beatles one, which I mentioned before, are really my own voice. They are the creation of the character. So a little bonus before we finish here, I thought you might like to see some of the original designs for the cover of Man in the Bath, although as you can tell these do look rather amateurish because they were mocked up by myself. So I decided what I needed to do is what all authors need to do, and is go for a professional. So I went to my friends at Blush Create, gave them the pitch for the book, and they came up with a series for me to choose from of the original images, some of which were taking things that I'd used, some of the images I provided, and some were of their own invention. You can guess which one from there I decided to go with, the bottom left. And at that stage I go back to the company and we tweak things a little left and right, and in this case one of the main tweaks we need to do was for the title, which didn't seem to be quite right in the manner it was. I did like all of these, but on reflection I wanted the image to stand out because it is a very striking image, so we went for this one, which is the image that you find on the final book. Please do read it.